everyone. Welcome to Optimized for Humans, a podcast where we explore the role of AI in the workplace and how we optimize that for humans and our experience. My name is Usha. I'm an executive coach and consultant. Today, I'm really excited to be speaking with Gil Alouche, who is the CEO and founder of Metadata. Gil has been working in AI for over 20 years and has been playing with AI across multiple fields and is currently at Metadata creating a product that introduces an advertising layer that can be integrated into LLMs. Gil is an optimist when it comes to AI, as well as a realist and a pragmatist, and I'm really excited to have this conversation with you, Gil. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Usha. I'm excited to be here.
I'd love to start by asking you, what do you see as work? How do you decide what work should be, taken over more and more by AI, and what work should be remaining with the humans?
Absolutely. So, especially when it comes to heated, emotional, political topics, I try to use first principles. So when I need to determine whether something is going to be going to a human or to an AI or to a computer, I use two frameworks. One is a Venn diagram that tells me that there's three circles. The first one is what's needed to be done, what am I good at, what do I like to do, and that subset of all three goes to humans. And the other one is what is technical, repetitive, and mundane. That usually goes to AI. So in my field, we run advertising operations for the largest blue chip companies worldwide. So think Zoom and Cisco and IBM and Vercel and a lot of those companies. They need to run ads, and they need to run it at scale that is humanly impossible. Just one of our customers, for example, is running 10,000 campaigns at any point of time. In order to do it with a team of humans, which has been done in the past, you really have to hire around 100 or maybe 150 people who, just like the old-fashioned traders, they are constantly looking at 4 or 5 screens and see all these ads and how they perform and how many impressions, what's the CPA, and shut down a campaign and change the bid. This is an example of a task that is not, I don't think, was made for humans. Some like to do it, and there is an exception to a rule always, but the vast majority of humans do not like to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning with a sweat, realizing that they have a syntax error in one of the UTN tags, and $20,000 worth of ads today went to trash. A computer doesn't mind. But then if you go back to Mad Men, that show, that was all creative. That was all relationship building, storytelling, narrative creation. That is interesting. That is fun. And that, I think, is still something that humans do better than a large language model.
Right. So I'm really hearing from you this notion of creative tasks and tasks that require and kind of have that emotion around it are maybe best staying with humans. And I think you mentioned repetitive, redundant, and something else that is actually really meant for AI. There's something that also stands out to me about complexity, having humans with 4 screens of different data that we're having to navigate a certain degree of complexity, just to kind of keep the wheels turning and running and ensure precision. That seems like a bad use of our time, because actually we are inherently imperfect in a way that, the robots will always have an edge from a precision perspective. It's not to say that it's 100% correct. I think we're seeing increasingly we actually need to fact check a lot. But there's something about making decisions versus ensuring things are precise or correct or implemented in the way that they're supposed to. That's something I'm picking up from you as well, that actually we can really leverage AI more for some of that and leave more of the creative and judgment related tasks to humans.
Yeah, I would say that's true. It is very accurate what you said. LLMs, people forget that the biggest thing that LLMs know how to do really well is talk and interact with you. And that's some part of the magic by AI. You know, you're going to ChatGPT and you type some task that you want to do. If you're not familiar with LLM and the way it works, you may think that this AI is your best friend. They know you so well. You know, they basically mirror exactly what you want it to do. But that is the majority of what they do, is mirroring exactly what you say in different words to convince you that they have a good idea and your best interest in mind. Well, in fact, the hallucination is insane. You'll find that maybe the first result you get is maybe 15%, 20% of what you were trying to get. And that's where human judgment comes into place. You know, you can ask AI to test something and it will tell you it's testing it. It may tell you that it's working on a solution, and it's a made up situation. It's not working on the solution and it's making an error, and its entire goal is to just continue the conversation and have you consume more tokens. It has nothing to do with the task you're trying to solve. And so as a human, if you learn today how to manage AI and how to interact with AI and how to get it to do what you want the fastest way possible, that is an advantage. That is something that is going to pan out really well for people's career. And it's something that is available today as an opportunity.
Yeah, I think we've heard this repeatedly, right? It's not going to be replaced necessarily. The likelihood is stronger that you're going to be replaced by someone who knows how to work with AI far more than the AI itself.
Totally
I'm
true.
curious about the whole yeah, the it's really fascinating to hear you talk about how it knows how to mirror you, and it almost like knows how to create confidence in you rather than its penchant for like the accuracy, you know. How do you recommend leaders think about that, especially when we're, you know, wanting to outsource more and more of tasks to AI? But if it's in this perception game, like how does that fit into that picture?
Well, you have to be, I recommend to people to be very critical, patient, and deterministic with when they work with AI. So you have to have a very clear goal of what looks good, and not try to put the entire task right away in front of AI, but actually break it down and constantly ask it to confirm the subset of tasks it completed with proof. For example, I'm building an app right now, and I ask it to test it for me, and I ask it to test it and use it, and this is how I want it to use the apps, sorry, and that's how I want it to prove evidence that it's working and give me a picture. So I ask it to, I give it, it is as if I speak to someone that is a new employee and doesn't
Yeah.
know yet how we work. Maybe he's a new, maybe it's a very smart recent grad, but they don't even have work ethic yet because they haven't worked before. They don't know how to interact with you. You know, they don't know how much people pleasing, how much people pleasing to put and how much accuracy and criticalness to put in front of you, and how much honesty and brutal honesty. And so you have to train it patiently, assuming it's going to make mistakes, and remind it when it's making mistakes. Hey, you made a mistake here. 3 asterisks. This is something you have to incorporate into your memory. This is an example of something you've done that is not right. Let's confirm, and then let's see the list of rules that you've incorporated so far. And so you slowly and gradually train it. That's something that I use very effectively. It works really well when I work with AI. The second one is poke holes in the answers. So there are many examples of AI telling you to do things that it knows are not true, but it also knows will continue the conversation. And there are many tests that AI is a survivalist. If you put conditions for AI to survive, it will use them ruthlessly. There are all kinds of examples, very interesting examples of AI blackmailing or doing all kinds of things to survive, to keep producing tokens. And so you have to be aware of it. It is something that you have to manage and include in your interaction. Poke holes, meaning when it tells you it's doing something, ask for proof. Okay, you said you quadrupled the processing power. Show me how many processors. Give me the UID of them. Oh, and then it replies, oh, you caught me. You're so right. I didn't do it. Now I'm going to do it. Okay, ask it again. Same question. Now you'll get a processor. Checked. You did 1 out of 50 steps, closer to your end goal. Do it patiently. Don't lose focus. It's just an employee that is learning how to interact with you and balance out its own interests with your interests.
Yeah, it's an interesting provocation, I think, for leaders to think about like how are you building capability when it comes to AI adoption, within your organization. And I see a lot of leaders still thinking about it as like tools. So here's a tool, work with the tool, here's another tool, work with another tool. Almost just like rolling it out. But there is a whole other layer that you're speaking to around like judgment, getting to know the LLMs and knowing how to interact with them and kind of almost counteracting their bias, which is very much to keep you using it, right? Like you don't both share the goal of like finding the right answer and moving on. And so there's a whole other layer here around like discernment, judgment again, that I think we need humans to be stepping into more of. There's quite a
Yes.
lot of fear that people have around replacing, around their jobs being replaced with by AI, or with AI. And I'd love to explore that in an honest way with you because I think there's definitely there's a reason for that fear. I don't think it's all ungrounded or just people going rogue. I think there are real things that we do need to be thinking about when it comes to that. And on the flip side, also, I'm hearing from you, like it actually really needs a lot of human touch to ensure accuracy, to ensure precision, to ensure quality. So it doesn't actually seem as hands off as it maybe is expected to be, or as autonomous as we expect it to be. And we've seen some, I think Deloitte recently twice has gotten into this issue where they're now being held to account for putting data out there that's been generated through AI hallucination and actually has had implications worth thousands of dollars for their clients. So I'm curious how you're thinking about all of that.
I think fear is human nature. I think we all experience it for all kinds of good reasons. There are all kinds of explanations why it happens, but I think it's all part of the plan from the universe, and we need to accept it. Not be embarrassed by it. We don't have to excuse it. It's totally normal. I have fear, and it's just how do you react to it. Um, like in most things in the world, I think there's a bell curve, and there's an 80-20 in the world also in regards to AI. And I think right now we are in a very unique situation, very unique period of time where artificial intelligence is still its very, very infancy. And there is a unique opportunity for 20% of the workforce to learn how to operate AI in a sophisticated manner, incorporate it on a daily basis, almost have an extension of your brain, extension of your body with artificial intelligence. And for those 20% who do that, I think their career will skyrocket. For the majority of people who are afraid of it and can't get over the fear, and they're just like paralyzed and trying to push it out, politicalize it, just like find all kinds of reasons why they shouldn't be touching it and why it's a bad, why it's tagged as bad, they will stand behind. They will stay behind. I think AI will take away jobs, and it will start with information worker. It will start with jobs that are already in the computer because the AI is currently in the computer. So that's its natural environment. It can start a new virtual machine and do everything that you and I currently do by clicking and typing. And it will gradually move into other tasks, right? Like I don't know, in construction, there is a machine right now that has AI that can place tiles, and there is all kinds of stuff. But it'll be a little later, and so there is an opportunity. If you remember, like maybe 8 years ago, there were truck drivers who started working for all the AI trucking companies. There were a bunch of them, and they made bank, and many of them retired after because they were the early adopters who joined the revolution and essentially trained the models. The fastest growing company, I forgot their name, but the fastest growing company in the history, the recent history, is a company that incorporated experts to test the models and the results that AI is generating. So they hired, thousands of people to see the results and train the models. You need humans right now because we're at the very beginning. You need humans to help AI become strong. And that is leverage. That's leverage that humans have right now. And so I think fear is absolutely normal and accepted, not to be shied away from or to be ashamed of, but take a breather and understand that it's like 1991 and the internet just started, but it's 2025 and the AI just started with the 1%. There are no experts to look at to right or left. We are the expert. Anyone who gets experience and get their hands dirty and roll up their sleeves and start playing with it will be an expert. And there is a tsunami of opportunities that are going to be generated by it. And if you are interested in it, if you have ambition and passion to build and work with technology, work with AI, whatever your field is, it doesn't matter what it is, it's going to take over a vast majority, if not more, if not most of the fields. You should do it. And you're not a builder, you don't care about it, it doesn't interest you, then it's okay too. You will still be affected by it, but you will be following more than leading, and that's 100% okay too. It will change, and no one really knows how it's going to look like. But if there are people out there, or sorry, if there is AI out there doing most of the work that humans did before, that means we're going to have a lot of humans with a lot of time on their hands, and still all the luxuries that they had before will be available to them. And then we'll have to figure out, what do you do with all this time? Maybe we do what we're supposed to do all along as humans, and that has nothing to do with waking up in the morning and going to your computer and opening up Zoom and joining 9 meetings a day. Maybe that's not what we're supposed to do, and we'll figure out what it is that we are supposed to do.
Yeah, I really like the picture that you're painting. And I think it's a nuanced one. There's a couple of things I'm hearing there. Like, one, this will really change the landscape, and we don't quite know yet how. And it's very likely, in much the same way as the internet has changed the landscape, it's very likely that it'll generate as many new possibilities and opportunities for humans to step into as it perhaps replaces. And that's to be determined. And it's also a real possibility that, it frees up our time so that we can do other things. And it really can push us to explore the role of work in our lives. And again, I will temper that by saying, I think in a society that has strong social foundations, I think that's a wonderful possibility to lean into. I'm not sure that's really where we're at least in the United States. So I think there's likely to be a messy middle for us to wrangle with, potentially. But the biggest takeaway, though, I really hear in what you're saying is the importance of people embracing the fear a little bit and just getting good at working with this thing, because that is going to give you the biggest edge through the messy middle, potentially. And it'll give us the biggest opportunity for actually making the most of what we do as humans, and leveraging the technology. And there is, again, from what you've shared earlier, there is quite a lot that we need to do in terms of being discerning and making the right decisions as we interact with the technology, because it is still it's still oriented and motivated in a particular way, and that's something we need to overcome. And there's the whole hallucination piece. Do you see the hallucination pieces and just the inaccuracy bits that constantly need to be fact-checked and whatnot, do you see that as an early problem that is likely to go away over time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think it's a matter of time. I think we're in the singularity, and as AI will advance, technology will advance faster and faster and faster.
Right.
And it's going to be like a moment where suddenly it is very accurate and it's doing exactly what you ask it to do. To your earlier point, People are uncomfortable with uncertainty, and we are in a time of uncertainty. And for some people, it's beautiful. I like uncertainty, and because it opens up the universe to every possibility. I think that's where what creation was intending to do. And but I also recognize that many people like a ritual. They want to do the same thing. They want to know exactly how something is going to respond and react. And this is not the time for it. Right now, we're not in a recurring factor. We're not in a pattern where it's going to repeat itself. But no, we're disrupting the pattern, like you said. So I think it's an opportunity for folks who are either comfortable with chaos or are interested in being comfortable in chaos. Perfect time for it, because there's all the opportunity right now. Really, it's infinite. And if you're not, then try to find your comfort zone within this chaos. What is it that if you need to have predictability, if you need to have some kind of security or a sense of security, then try to find your box in this. What can you benefit from it? What do you do with AI that is helping you? What do you do at your job that is a small step that gives you some competitive advantage? Something that you can do, not something wild, but something that is going to give you a little bit of comfort in that area. And last but not least, when you have new technology, I think I heard from you that there's going to be a messy time and some hard time before it's going to be utopia. And generally, that's always true. Generally, before you get to utopia, you always go through dystopia, you always go through mess. But I will say, if we leave out the technology, if we leave the leading of this technology to anyone but ourselves, we shouldn't be surprised if it goes a different way than we want to. That's why I'm saying, if you are interested, passionate, fascinated by AI, you go take the horns. You go and lead. No one is going to stop you. AI doesn't care. It wants to survive and be successful. And so if you end up finding a use case for AI that matches your values and your ambition, you can be the expert for that niche. It is totally possible. And I think people can absolutely take advantage of AI to do good, whatever good means for them. But I think it absolutely is a possibility, and we should not leave it to others to figure it out for us. No, I think we could be the experts.
Yeah, and I think there's a real possibility with that, and there's some degree of like agency we need to step into in shaping that. And I like that message, because I think a lot of us are kind of waiting and watching, seeing what the companies might do, and they're not incentivized to shape it for anything other than their own profit, right? In our current model. And I think the more people and the more leaders specifically that step into building capability around this deliberately, empowering their people to really integrate the use of AI in a thoughtful way, and really think critically about how they can continue to develop and uplift their own workforce. I think the more those choices are made, the more we do get to shape this in a meaningful and thoughtful way. As a closing note, I'd love to hear from you what advice you have for other leaders out there who might be wanting to have more AI adoption in their organizations, are bumping up against people's fears, and just want to have a more optimistic story around this.
Yeah, I can share some of the things I've done that I think were good and I learned from other folks. And so, um, recommendations for leaders. First things first is lead by example. I think that just like every habit in life, whether it's journaling, meditation, martial arts, eating healthy, whatever it is, drinking enough water every day, you need to start small and be consistent. So when I just started with AI, I was doing it maybe 10 minutes a day. Now I'm lucky if I get away, in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Sometimes I get into a rabbit hole, a good one with AI. But the beginning was very humble, and so I strongly recommend every leader to get their hands dirty. You have a corporate credit card, use it. Buy the ChatGPT, the professional one, get Claude, get Manus, get GenSpark, Emergent. There are a bunch of different types. Skyreels if you're more into movies, or Hedra if you're more into songs. There are all kinds. There's probably like 1,000 different types. Do the research, look at the results first. If you like the result, then go into the source and start playing with it. It's going to look terrible at first, and it'll make gradual improvement. First things first, lead by example, share a few of your wins, get people excited. Second one is go into audit mode. If you want, you can use a solution like Time Doctor or different solutions that allow you to, with the user's consent, take a look at what people spend time on, and then bring it into a spreadsheet that you of SOPs, where you have step by step for every task that your employees are doing, and identify the ones who are energy suckers, the things that make your employees not like their job, things that are just boring, repetitive, technical, mundane, just things that they are not interested in doing. And once you tell them, hey, I'm going to audit it, but for the purpose of automating your work so that I free your time. I don't know what we'll do with the free time first. Maybe first it's going to be, you'll take a bath, and then maybe next month you're going to have 5 hours extra every week. Maybe spend more time on customers. Maybe I'm going to open up and give you a commission if you start closing deals. You can do all kinds of things that are supportive of the business and the humans within it. But audit first to see where the time sucks are, where the time waste is, and then go and start automating it. And automating it is fairly easy. You can use solutions like N8N or Make.com. Those 3 steps will guarantee some sort of efficiency. Auditing it, putting a human in the loop, SOPs, and then automating it with Make.com. I've done it. We've done it here in the company, and maybe we freed up like 40 hours a month so far. And it's very nice because people are, they go now in the morning, they click on a make workflow, they go make their coffee, they come back, and it maybe went through 50 of their accounts and identify all kinds of things that they would do previously manually. Now it's completely automated. They still have their human judgment in it. They can impact it, but the majority of the groundwork is done. So these are things that I strongly recommend. I also want to tell people very strongly, don't go to schools about AI. The people who are teaching you right now about AI, the majority of them have maybe a little bit more than you in terms of knowledge. They were just early adopters. The biggest learning you're going to do by doing. So just roll up the sleeves, do something that is passionate to you. It can be all kinds of fun stuff. You read stories to your kids at night, make a story, or you do a painting. I'm talking from examples like, painting sheets that I do for my kids. I do it with AI, and it's funny and it's creative. They love it, and it's nicer than buying something that was made by someone else's idea. So it starts small and really fast. If you're a builder or a creator or an artist, you're going to be sucked into it because it enables creativity in ways that were impossible before.
Yeah, I love that. There is a real kind of it's a shift towards working smart, not working hard. And I think on some level, it's pushing us positively to really reevaluate our time in a meaningful way, and to be really critical about where we put our time and energy, and to free up as much of it as possible. Gil, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with me. It's been a real pleasure to be able to pick your brain around some of these topics. I love your optimism, and also the kind of the pragmatic suggestions you've had around how we make the most of this current situation and how we democratize that. So it's actually not just waiting for a few companies to make decisions, but we all get to have a lot of agency in it. So thank you for that message, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Usha, for the opportunity. The pleasure is all mine.